mint soak in, it tasted much nicer with a
Right.
slight mint flavour through it.
Yeah, aye. Aye,
So
'cause
we could do that one day.
right, great. It developed quite organically. It's not something I could sit and write a talk about how you operate in the kitchen. But I began to see that there was two aspects. There was, in one way, it challenges you quite a lot, because you've got to get a meal on the table by a certain time, and you've still got to keep it kind. You've got to keep your connection with the retreatants who are in and out of the kitchen, sort of as skillful as possible. And I learned an awful lot from that. I learned how to control my own energy, because I used to find that I would be crashing about the kitchen, throwing pots at the stove, and someone would come in and ask me something fairly trivial. It was trivial to me, it wasn't trivial to them. And I would give them the answer, but I would hear an edge in my voice. And learning to keep it kind all the time. There was a real challenge in that in the kitchen, so there was a lot of Dharma practice. There was one retreat I cooked for quite a few years ago. Kamala Shilla came up here and did a 10-day meditation retreat. And I cooked for it. And suddenly during that retreat, I felt that cooking was like a puja to me. Just during that retreat, it felt you put the meal on the counter and it was an offering to the three jewels. Sometimes you get someone who just gets into a difficult place in a retreat, and they will materialise in the kitchen at strange times, not the normal veg prepping time, asking to do something, and what they just really need some sort of simple physical exercise to let them vent whatever stresses and stuff is annoying them. At first I used to wonder what on earth was going on and say, no, I don't need any help, go away. And then it dawned, and so now my favourite one is to get them to peel garlic, because it's a right fiddly job, and I can always use it. A wee dish of garlic in the fridge is always handy. And at the end of a retreat one time, one guy had come in and he did look quite stressed, and he peeled loads of garlic for me and went away. And at the end of the retreat, when they came out of silence, he came into the kitchen and said, see that peeling garlic, that was just what I needed. The kitchen here faces west, and you can get lovely light coming in the afternoon. But you can also get lovely little moments in the winter, watching a squirrel who's forgotten where he buried his acorns, running up and down the wall there, trying to remember where he hid them. Mind you, the environment can come into the kitchen, as you know, and the power can go off, and the water pipe can freeze, and all these sort of things happen here too, because it's a wild spot. When I researched Dogen's life in order to give a short talk about him, I did have a quiet smile to myself when he moved his monastery up into the mountains to get away from the pain and grief that the Buddhist establishment in Japan were giving him. And he moved to a mountainous region where it still is, I believe, that monastery, where the winters are severe. And that made me smile, with thinking of the Tenzo having to cope with trying to get water, and the well had frozen, and trying to get light in the kitchen. The oil for the lamps had gone solid. So yeah, you can see that other people have faced challenges just the same as you. So it gives you sort of connection with a great long sort of tradition of cooks who've had to deal with just what the environment threw at them. Just as part of keeping the Dharma as the wallpaper in the kitchen when you're working either on your own or with others, is mindfulness when you're chopping vegetables. I find that's really easy. Is you feel the sort of consistency of the vegetables, whatever it is, the carrot or the onion, as your knife goes through it. And I find that's a really good way of grounding myself, especially if I need to, because we've got you know, like an intensive meditation retreat on. And the other one, again, arose initially quite spontaneously. I was washing spinach, and there was a bit of earth on it, which was that sort of red Mediterranean earth, and you suddenly realised how far that spinach had come and how many hands had touched it in its way to Dhanakosa, you know. And so when I go in to pick up the vegetables, it's not just a matter of raking about in the box of carrots for a couple of kilos of carrots. You think about all the people who've been instrumental in getting the carrots from wherever they came from to here, you know, or the other veg. It's the food store is so full of things that have come quite a long way and been handled by a lot of people. And the only person I know is the man who comes from the local wholesaler. The only person I see. He used to be my neutral person in the meta, but I've got so pally with him I can't use him anymore. But he's the only one you actually see. But there's such a chain of people behind him that it does give you a sense of sort of, you can do a sort of meta for everyone who's been involved. But you're going around the store and it says, you know, produce of Portugal, produce of Fife. Some of the broccoli comes from Fife and various places. And it's good to sort of get that sense of that Danakosha's at the centre of a web of connections.